So welcome back to the last segment of Relentless Talk Radio. This is the Entrepreneurism segment. And so I have Steve Mixta from Opti Limited on the line right now. And Micalizzi, that's awful. That's terrible. We talk every day and I don't know how to say your last name. How do you say Micalizzi? I just gave you
right. You're right. Yeah.
Hey, tip your camera down a little bit so we can see more of your handsome face. There you go. Awesome. Perfect. So tell me who you are and say your name the right way again so people know who you are and then your company and what you do.
All right. Steve Micalizzi. I'm with Opti. So we're a technology consultant, but really we help companies leverage technology to grow their business. So my background, I've been in the mortgage industry and basically built a technology platform to help me grow my mortgage business, and then went into work at a local company here, and we built out an platform for them. And right now, this time of technology happening, it's moving so quickly, and the opportunity for companies to leverage technology to me is as great as it's ever been. But as a small to mid-sized business, that can be very hard to do because you don't necessarily have that knowledge or expertise. So we really look to identify high growth, high vision companies who really want to exponentially grow their business. And we come in and partner with them to leverage technology and work with their people to build out just some incredible process behind a business that's already successful, but just takes them to the next level.
So what you were doing is you were working in the mortgage industry, but you were actually using Salesforce to grow your own business.
Correct. I've been on Salesforce since 2009, and we initially, obviously used it from the CRM side of things, which is what everybody perceives Salesforce as. But where I found additional value was on the back end operational side. So being able to just create visibility of not just the sales side, but also that operational side. And as you create efficiencies internally, then the ability to, like my challenge I was having as an originator was I would go out and get business, but then operationally I'd get pulled back in to the loan. And so it was like, okay, no matter how much I sell, I can't grow exponentially until I solve this internal problem of closing loans fast. And then as we figured that out, now we're closing loans fast. Not only are we closing the loan, now we're getting more referrals because we're providing a great service. And so our business just took off. But to me, a lot of businesses look at technology as how do we grow sales? How do we grow sales? And although that's important and all great, it's another problem when if you just skip over that operational side of it, it's a lot harder to grow exponentially and have that real upside trajectory, exponential trajectory.
And what you're saying is super important because, you can close the sale, but if you're spending like days and days and days actually closing the sale, then you're losing time. Then you have a lag between the time you close something and the next sale. So you end up doing this with your cash flow and with your energy level, right? And so,
like you nailed the energy level is a big thing because it's not just the time. When I was selling, you get in sell mode, and when you get pulled into a conversation that is draining for you as a salesperson, not only are you losing that time, but it's all that energy that just went into sucking out any of your sales energy. So really what we are leveraging Salesforce to do is by allowing the internal processes to run more effectively, we're really tailoring the system to the salesperson. So it still is all about sales and it's all about growing the business, but really we cater our experience to ensure that these sales reps can do whatever it is they need to do from wherever they need to be, and they can be productive selling, and they can know that on the operational or the back end side, they can have visibility into that, but not need to spend their day running around trying to figure out what's going on to be able to close the deal.
I remember reading an article about Steve Jobs, and he realized that he could only make so many decisions in a day. So the reason why you'd always see Steve Jobs in a black t-shirt and jeans was because he wanted to take out the decision of what to wear in the morning.
Yeah.
But he was constantly creating process and systems around what he was doing regularly so he could take the thought out of it. So you and I right now are working with Zach on creating processes for Relentless Talk Radio and Micalizzi Enterprises, because many people know that I have several buckets of revenue that I'm working with. I have several things that I'm doing simultaneously. And so you came to my BNI chapter about, I don't know, 3 months ago. When you stood up and said what you did, I said, yay, because I had been planning on using Salesforce. And so to help me streamline my processes. So you and I are actually working on with my business and streamlining things and taking the processes that I have and putting into Salesforce. So when I'm hearing you talk, I'm not only hearing you from a fellow entrepreneur standpoint, interviewing you about what you're doing with your business, but I'm also a grateful entrepreneur that's going to be taking advantage of what it is that you're doing, because I was planning on doing it anyway. So it was really cool that we can do it together, because I get to use your expertise and you get to use mine. And at the end of it, we'll come up with something that maybe could be duplicatable. So we'll keep people in the loop about that. So, you know, what's the biggest lesson you think? Because you've been in business now for about 9 months. You're not even a year old. And you're like a greenhorn. What's your biggest lesson in the first 9 months? I mean, you make the decision to go out on your own. You leave the mortgage industry behind. Have you left it completely behind, or you still got your fingers kind of in it?
No, it's behind. I've been out of origination really for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. My brother actually took over my origination business, and he's continuing to grow it. So even from that standpoint, it's kind of a testimonial to what we built from the platform side of things. So Jeff's over at VIP Mortgage locally here, and I was able to leave, but because these systems were in place, and
you could just hand it off. You had
he's able to run with it, and he might beat my best year ever this year. He's been in the business, 4 years now maybe, but last year he was President's Club, and he's been able to take what, if I didn't have that system, there's no way he'd be able to
keep running with it. So what's the biggest lesson for you, do you think, over the past 9 months since you've started Opti Limited?
Past 9 months, I guess, really I'm looking from a strategic side of things. I read a lot, and really trying to navigate this technology space, and being around it. It's moving so fast. I'm in the middle of it, and I feel like I'm behind. So as a business owner and as a small business owner, I can't even imagine how you're trying to keep up with it. So I've always been a small business kind of guy. I know how to grow business. I know that relationship side of things, and how critical those relationships are. And so we're really focusing our businesses on kind of that small to mid-sized business, where we can almost come in as an extension of their company and be almost an employee of their company, and look at where can we create value to allow you to start to build a strategy from a technology side that will get you towards your vision, but also be able to train and enable your people internally, and really partner with you to where it's a more cost-effective way of, look, we're going to come in and help you, but your business, and we want your input and feedback, and we'll kind of train and enable you on the platform. So long response to your answer, but to get to your answer, the biggest thing I've learned is we can't want it more than the business owner wants it themselves.
Amen. Oh my gosh. Totally. Totally. So I've moved away from, when I originally started my company, it was a consulting company. And in the process of marketing my company, I created these 2 projects, the Art of Real Estate Doing Business and the Art of Real Estate Giving Back, where I'm telling the story of entrepreneurism and philanthropy, and there's an art component to it, right? In the process of doing that, I became my own client. But also, one of the reasons I became my own client is when I was doing project work with people, I couldn't be the one that was beating their door down for progress harder than they were beating their own door down.
Right.
you can bring the horse to water, but you cannot make the horse drink.
Right.
So I learned over time to put time limitations on projects and to be open to firing a client, because back to our point earlier about energy, if you have one client that sucks the life out of you, it keeps you from doing for all the other clients. So that's a painful lesson. I usually do get it in the first year.
Yeah, and the and the crazy thing was, so with technology, people always think technology is like it's not just technology. There's a technology side of things, and then there's the people side of things. And as we look to grow this, like the technology is so complex and ever evolving that you have to create systems and structure in order to take on more clients, right? Otherwise, you're going to fall into the trap of like all of a sudden you get more business and now things blow up and you can't support that business. So it's building those same systems internally to be able to scale and grow and help more companies. But part of that scalability then comes in what customers are you targeting, right? And if you get that high, just the not uncommitted, won't learn the technology, it's so draining from an energy side, but then also makes it very challenging to scale because you're not, you're having to do all the work to move a very small amount.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I first started my consulting company, I got really lucky. I got some clients that were like rolled up their sleeves with me and we got stuff done, and not every client's like that, because technology, you don't just like buy the software and poof, it gets done. You actually have to use your mind and walk through, okay, here's what I do when I do this what happens. And then that happens, this happens. And you have to actually create the systems. And you and I are working on a weekly basis to create the systems for Micalizzi Enterprises. And that takes time to get the structure in place so that you can it's turnkey. But the first part of it is a lot of work, right?
Right. And it's an ongoing thing, and that we learned that from going through the experience that we went through in building out the end-to-end mortgage platform, because we hired a couple consultants to come in and build us a solution, and we knew the business, we knew the industry, and they couldn't get it done to our liking. So we ended up hiring a third consultant and said, you come in and teach us how to build software, for lack of it. We know the industry, we know the ins and outs, we know all the scenarios. And it's the same thing we say when talking to our the businesses that we work with. Like, we're not going to know your industry to the level that you are. And I can read however many books or study whatever it is, but you're the one who's been living in that business for the last however many years. So it's finding within these companies, finding those key people. And it's not always the business owner, because a lot of business owners are out developing business, right? But if you can find a key person within that organization who knows the ins and outs of the business, and it's almost just transferring their knowledge to us and providing them with a system where over time we take everything that's stored in their head and build that into a technological system that now runs their business. And you got a happy business owner, because now it doesn't matter how much business he brings in, it's going to close seamlessly and he's going to grow his business exponentially.
And also what happens is, in the process of putting those systems in place, you'll have other learnings and knowings, and you'll shift and change and evolve, because now you've got something that's evolvable, as opposed to something that you're just constantly recreating every time. So you can actually learn as you grow, kind of deal, as opposed to just kind of constantly scrambling to recreate the wheel every time, right?
Right. And that too is where our focus, because a lot of, you could focus by industry, and we are doing some of that in a full financial services space where we know that industry and we know it really well. But at the same time, we're also looking to focus on that high growth company, because to me, that's my background, to say, okay, it doesn't necessarily matter what business you're in. Sales, if you're selling a product and you got to fulfill it, and there's networking and business development and all those things. And it's actually been really, really cool the last 9 months, as we've been working these different projects, to start to get insight of how something works in one industry, and all of a sudden being able to apply it in a totally different industry in a way that you never really thought of. So the amount I've learned in the last 9 months getting outside of mortgage has just been phenomenal.
Well, so Steve, you're in the middle of moving, as people can tell. Your
right.
Are like
you're like you have 0 books in your bookcase. I just ran into an empty house.
I really appreciate you taking time out. You and I are going to be doing some events and seminars that are going to help educate people about sales and process. So people should keep their eye open to Relentless Talk Radio over the next couple of months. We'll be doing some seminars. People can kind of come in and meet you and learn a little bit more about process improvement and sales. So we'll keep people posted on that. But I want to thank you very much for today. How can people get a hold of you if they want to work with you?
Yeah, so email, phone, smikesta, M-I-K-S-T-A at optiunlimited.com, O-P-P-T-Y unlimited.com, and then phone 480-305-4979.
Well, thanks so much for your time today. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks for having me.
I'll see you tomorrow at BNI.
All right, sounds good.
Take care.